Hello, other boxing fans around the world. Thank you for joining us once again on Talkin Fight, another episode of Knuckle Up featuring Mike Orr. Today, as promised, we've got a very special guest dialing in. I understand he's a very quiet man with very few words. Sounds like you're going to have to do a hard job of extraction, quite frankly.
No.
I'll leave it up to you. I'll leave it up to you. You've done your best before with much more quieter people, I'm sure.
I have. Yes, as promised, guys. We have him. We have him in the studio today. Nathaniel Collins, our Commonwealth champ, and we're going to talk to him, and we're going to find out all about his story, guys. And let's get it underway. So, Graham, we're gonna get rid of you, and we're gonna bring him in.
Consider me knocked out.
Yeah, man, knocked right out. Nathaniel, how's it going, man?
Hiya, how we doing?
Not bad. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule here to come and join me for this interview for the fans who want to hear your story. Let's just get right into it, man. What age did you start boxing at?
So I started boxing at 14. I started because I went to see my big cousin who was also a professional boxer. And I seen him box as an amateur in the British Championships, and I thought I was like a wee chubby fat guy, so I was like, my mum and dad were like, do you not fancy doing a bit of boxing? So I went to a boxing club, and yeah, I just caught the bug for it.
Yeah, you know what? It usually happens to a lot of people once you get in there, start hitting stuff. Next thing you know, you're in there all the time, and it just takes up your whole life. But it's a great life. What influenced you to actually start competing as an amateur?
I don't know. I think like once I first got into it, I just it just has a way of getting a grip on you, doesn't it? And like my grandparents and stuff thought once I first get hit, I wouldn't like it and I'd probably quit. And I was absolutely opposite. Like once I first got hit, I loved it even more, and that adrenaline buzz and trying to be the best, trying to not get hit, trying to work somebody out, like all that just captivated you. And after that I was like dead set on competing, so I got into it pretty fast.
Yep, right. Okay, so you late into boxing. You didn't start early like most of these young cats. How long were you actually in the gym before you started competing as an amateur?
So probably was only 6 months in the gym before I started competing as an amateur. And in Scotland, like all the guys that were about my weight and age had all been competing, obviously from dead young. So I got kind of flung in at the deep end with the guys I was competing against had like 60 fights, 50 fights, and I was going in with like 2, 3, 4. So I went in and kind of learned the hard way.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, it was great, but I loved it.
Of course, addicted to it. How many amateur fights did you actually end up having?
I think I wound up having about 75 eventually. I competed at lots of like small club shows in Scotland when I first started. And then I started competing in like championships, national championships, like district events, and then near the end of my amateur career I went to like the Europeans, the Commonwealth games, and so on and so forth, so quite like a vast experience at the amateurs.
What do you say your greatest accomplishment as an amateur boxer would be today?
Probably competing at the Commonwealth games. Like that was a great experience for me, and it's like for Scottish people it's kind of the pinnacle, because like to get to the Olympics you need to actually be part of Team GB. Scotland obviously don't send their own team, so it's obviously quite difficult to get onto G politics behind it. So for a Scottish boxer, kind of the Commonwealth Games is the heights you hit. Obviously minus your Josh Taylors and stuff who are leagues beyond, but the Commonwealth Games was exciting for me. I ended up losing to the Australian boxer there, Harry Garside, and he just recently got a bronze at the Olympics there in Tokyo, so it was great competing at that high level.
Right. What was so the decision to go pro? Did you have any influence to be pushed into that decision, or was that just, hey, I've done the amateur series and I'm done with it. Now it's time to move on and go pro? Was it
Yeah, I always feel like I've always had like a pretty high paced style, high pace, but a style suited for longer distance and longer rounds. I like to sit down and pick my punches and pick my combinations
right?
and take my time with it. Like I've always been like that. And at my gym, Joe Ham Senior's my trainer. His son Joe Ham Junior, and another guy in the gym, Stuart Burt. They guys were pro from 2014. So I was in and mixing about pros, and the style of training Joe started moving towards a pro style of training. So it was always kind of set in stone. Like I probably would have went sooner if the Commonwealth Games hadn't came around. But
Right.
I really wanted to go and kind of achieve that in my amateur career. So it might have came sooner hadn't that been about.
Right. So, so you found the transition from the amateurs to the pros pretty easy because of your trainer was pretty much just gearing you up to get ready for the pros.
Yeah, absolutely. Because these guys were Joe, Stuart, and the other guys at the club were already focusing on pro fights. And
Right.
I was obviously an elite amateur, so I was the sparring for these guys. So me and the other boy, Reagan, at the club, both were kind of amateurs, but transitioning into the pro style before it even was a
Right.
thought, you know? So
Right. So your first pro fight, you obviously remember that. Take us through the emotions that you ran through and the excitement or the nervousness and how did you handle it?
um, it was funny, like my first pro fight almost never happened because the original opponent I had pulled out and they had to get a guy on like 2 days' notice. And I'm a featherweight, 9 stone, obviously. So I was sitting down. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be light. I'm gonna be on weight. I'm gonna be dynamite. And I get a call up, and they says, oh, we can only get this guy for you. He's 10 stone, 10.5 stone. Like but he can drive up from England tomorrow. And I was like, I mean, that's a stone and a half difference. So I was like, right, cool. I'm super confident in my ability anyway, no matter who I was fighting. So I was like, cool, get him up. Um, no problem, we'll deal with it. And I went in and I just like, I'd probably say to this day, like it's one of my favourite performances. Like I was so super comfortable. The way I moved in the ring, like the angles I was creating was just, it was a bit next level stuff. If I do
almost
say
like you
so
were
myself.
almost like you were possessed and it was just everything worked perfectly. Eh? It was just you were
Absolutely.
possessed. That's awesome. If you were to say to any of the fans out there right now to go and watch a fight that best represents your style of boxing, would that be the one, or is there another fight for them to check out?
Um, that's a tough question. Pro-
Don't mean to put you on the hot seat, but
I know, calling myself out here on what I think I've done my best in. My most impressive would probably be that my debut. I did enjoy that. My fifth or sixth fight when I fought for the Celtic title.
right,
That's probably one of my most impressive performances. I feel like that was just because everyone thought it was a 50-50 and it was against a fellow countryman and he was meant to have much more experience and I always knew like I've got the capabilities of beating this guy really, really comfortably. So when I came out and like done a job on him, like I think I got 5 knockdowns in the fight or something, and everyone was like, "Oh wow!" Like as if they started believing, and I was like, "That I've been telling you, like this is what was going to happen." So that fight, and then obviously my last fight just there, defending
yeah.
the Commonwealth. That's the most rounds I've been, so that was great for experience. Um,
How did it feel going? Like, did you find it easy to go that many rounds since it was the first time you went that far? Like, was it
y-
hard to accomplish it?
yeah, like my preparation's always the same. So, when I was in there, I felt fine. Like maybe when it got into 10 and 11, I'd like to have seen that as well. Like
Right.
I look forward to the championship rounds, and I've always says that like I want to get there and be in a proper dogfight. So, um, I thought that was how it was going to go. This, like, when I was hitting this guy, it wasn't moving, and I was like, and I could, like, I hurt my hands in round two, like, straight away from hitting him that hard, and I was like, this guy surely has to go at some point, and he wasn't going. So I was preparing myself for the 12, and I eventually got him out of there.
Yeah. So you honestly, it is a great performance. We did put it up. We did put it up in our comments for all the fans that are out there watching, so they can click on it and check that fight out, man, because it is a good one. Honestly, great performance.
Thank you.
What are some of your short term goals? What do you see yourself in the next 6 months to a year? Where do you want to be? What do you plan on doing?
I've got a British title eliminator just now scheduled for March.
Okay.
So hopefully in the next 6 months I'll be fighting for the British title. But touch wood, that all goes to plan. If not, I just want to start chasing kind of international titles, WBC international or anything WBO, WBA, and get myself up the world rankings a little bit and chase that, because I've always just says like, all I care about is a world title. That's all I care about.
That's it.
You know?
That's the end goal. The end goal. That's the accomplishment for all the hard work.
That's it. And it's like, it's not as far away as I used to think before. I used to be like, oh, I'm years and years away from world title. Like, now I don't believe that. Now I'm like, I'm not so far away from world title, I feel. So,
Right.
especially with the featherweight world titles all kind of being held mostly in the UK just there.
Right.
You had
Right.
Galahad and Lee Wood and so obviously that's been upset a wee bit now.
Yeah, it has been upset a little bit. We got a question here from one of our viewers that's watching. Do you want to be feared or do you want to be loved?
Loved, I want to be loved. I don't care about fear. I'm not in it to be like a bad guy or nothing. I just like doing my business, and it's just business at the end of the day. I've not came across anyone I don't like yet, and I actually really want to properly punish. You know, it's not about that for me. It's just like, get in, do your business, win the fights, make the money, move on to the next one.
Right. Right. Who do you think is your hardest opponent that you faced today in your career?
A few people have asked me this. I fought a guy in like my third fight, I would say, or second or third fight, and he was just like a journeyman from Mexico. And like today, he's probably the guy with who's punched me the hardest, or because I came out the last one, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, that guy was your toughest fight," and all that. I'm like, not really. Like, I felt that was quite. I was in control of that one.
Mm-hmm.
So about 3 fights in, I had my first 6 rounder against a Mexican guy, and he was like tough as nails. So, I can't remember his name now. It's going to annoy me.
Would it be Arturo Lopez?
Arturo Lopez, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Your second fight. That's the guy from your second fight.
Second fight, he was sick. It was my first 6 rounder, and I came in, and he was like a little geeky looking guy as well, and I was like, he
Yeah.
doesn't look like he's up to much. And then he came in and he hit me first few punches, and I was like, whoa, okay.
You're like, whoa, who is this guy?
Yeah.
We have another question from our friends over at Last Bell Boxing, who have another podcast over in the UK. Our friend Carl wants to know, who do you think the best, in your opinion, right now in the featherweight division is?
That's a hard question as well. Like, it's proper stacked right now in the featherweight division. I think who's holding the WBC? Is it Gary Russell, isn't it?
I think so.
And he's not fought. He's so inactive. So you're like,
Yeah.
that's a really difficult question, because everybody about the UK, they're now floating about as it's just a dangerous division. I would have to say Lee Wood just now, just based on like past few performances. Like, obviously fought Zushan at the Matchroom fight camp, and like, it was an incredible performance. He's banging people out. So for now, like, I would have to say Lee Wood.
You know what? And Carl has just dropped it. He said Lee Wood is the best, so he does agree with you. Great answer. Honestly, I do like Lee Wood myself. I pretty much agree with you too. I think he's probably the best right now in
Yeah.
in the division. Um, what strengths do you believe that you have that make you the great athlete that you are?
I've got a hell of a lot of self belief in myself. Like, I know what I've came through throughout the years to get to where I am just now. Like, I've got a real big belief in. It sounds funny because it's something that nobody really talks about when they're like, oh yeah, I've got punch power and stuff.
Yeah,
My footwork. I always believe in my footwork. Like, I've got the ability to stay away or get close to somebody if I need to. So,
right.
I've got a big belief in my footwork, and I think it's like a major, major important role in my game. Um,
Hmm.
I, I, I want to say punch power, but like I feel like my record doesn't show it. I was having a rant about this the other day. I'm 9-0 with 4 knockouts, right?
Right.
But I've got one DQ on my record. And that DQ was because the guy was taking a pounding and then he started grabbing and falling and like falling all over the place and stuff. So I was like, I should be 9-0 with 5, and that would take me
Right.
over the 50% mark. And I'm like
Right.
proper raging
Right.
about it. But
Honestly, yeah, you're hard on yourself, man. You're pushing yourself to perform better and better, man. And that's how you're gonna get better, right?
yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I'd also say, like, for me, a big part of my thing is I don't have fear of a loss.
Right.
I don't have fear of losing because you get, like, I feel like that last era of the holding your O was, like, such a big thing. Whereas I would rather just fight the best as soon as possible and with no fear of, like, I'm not fighting him because he could potentially take my O. I would rather think I'm going to fight him because I want to challenge my
Right.
limits and see where I am. So I think that makes me a dangerous opponent as well because where I don't want to lose, I want to always win. I've got a
Mhm.
major winner's mentality, but I'm also not afraid to push myself out further than I could possibly go, you know?
Right. Right. Step into the ring with somebody who might be skilled better than you to test your ability and
Yeah,
see where you're at.
absolutely.
That's hey, that's how you become better. That's how you stay on the uprise is always challenging yourself, and it shows in your fights, man. It does show in your fights. You do get better every time you're in the ring. I urge all the fans out there to go back and check out all his fights, man. You will enjoy watching this kid perform, man. The Nightmare. How did you get the nickname?
there's no there's no cool story behind this at all. Um
Okay.
Basically I was back when I was just turning pro, and me and my coach, we used to work together. And we were sitting in a van one day and I was like, I need a cool nickname or something. Like, I need a selling point.
Right.
What could I do? What could I do? So like I just put a poll up on Instagram and I was like, what should my nickname be for boxing? Everyone send it in, and it was like a young kid from an amateur club, and he was like, the Nightmare would be a sick nickname and blah blah blah. And then I was like, yeah, that was a good nickname. And again, me and my coach, we were discussing it, and he was like, you could get like a mask and all that. And then that's how that whole thing came about. And it was like pure not cool, not related to anything at all. It was just like everyone always was like, how'd you get that? That must be a cool story. I'm like, nah, it's just an Instagram thing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know what? I always ask everybody that you're not the worst story out there. Believe me. There are some good ones. There are some bad ones. Um, who's your idol? Who do you look up to right now? Who do you believe is like the best boxer? Who's your role model?
Like, biased to my own countrymen, I would say Josh Taylor just now is like on some crazy, crazy next level. Never
Right.
been done before by a Scot kind of stuff. Like, the talent that guy possesses is insane. So that might be a bit biased. With everything going on in the lightweights just now, I
Yeah.
still really like Lomachenko. Um, I still think, like, obviously he's fighting this weekend. I'm
Yeah.
excited for that.
Oh, me
Um,
too.
I think the Teo loss was a bit of a slip up. not to do with Loma's skill or Tio's skill, but more to do with like a bit of overestimating his opposition. I would say he got started way too late. I think he may have feared Teofimo's a bit, and then when he actually got in and realised like this guy doesn't have what, like he wasn't the bogeyman that everyone said he was, which obviously Kambosos just showed there. So yeah, still like Loma. I think he's still got a lot left in the tank, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But for sure, my ultimate favourite fighter right now is Shakur.
Nice. I like him. Too. If you could fight anybody in your division right now, tomorrow, like your next fight, who would it be?
Just whoever was holding the world title, whoever wants it, whoever wants the smoke. Paddy Russell, because he's been inactive, and I like the WBC belt. That belt is sick. Everybody wants a green belt, you know.
You know what? It does look the best, man. I can't help it.
It is. It's class, and you always associate that with like all the best who've ever. Everyone who's ever done it's always got the WBC.
That's true. Do you run us through like a day of your camp? Like when you're in camp just before you're about to fight. What are some of the routines that you go through that prep you and get you ready for the great performances you put up?
So the last 2 times it's been different because Scotland's absolutely freezing just now. So the first, when I won the Commonwealth, it was summer, so I would get up and do like a 4:30 run in the morning. 4:30 a.m. I'd come back, I'd get a little sleep and stuff. Then I'd be back in the gym for strength and conditioning, and then that would be like 11. And then I'd come home, just chill. I'm a big PlayStation guy, so I would just bash the PlayStation, a bit of Warzone. And then I'd go back out to the boxing gym and whatever it be, sparring or bags or whatever, and we'd do our work in the boxing gym, and then same at night, just come home and get a bit to eat and play the PlayStation, and that was pretty much it every single day. This last time, because it's been so cold, like as soon as you wake up in the morning it's dark till like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, so now I kind of switch it up where I go like strength and conditioning, boxing, and then I do the run at night instead of the morning. And I'll probably do it in the gym on a treadmill or something rather than outside, which I don't necessarily like because I like running outside. There's something better about it.
I guess it's the fresh air. Maybe the fresh air, the non-stale air in the the gym, right?
I get bored as well. Like, see when you're in the gym and you're running in the same, and you see the same thing constantly. I'm looking about at people. I get so distracted and stuff. I'm like, I'm so bored.
Yeah, I understand that. What's the part about training you hate the most?
Diet. I'm sure everybody says that.
You know what? No, I've had some crazy ones. I've had ice baths, running, skipping, and now you're saying diet. Okay,
the other ones are all right. The diet's the worst. I hate diet because I love. Now I tell you something, right? I could eat healthy the whole year, but I love chocolate. I love chocolate so much.
Right. So
that's my biggest weakness.
Yeah, and you're not allowed to have any because you got a diet, right?
I know, it sucks. But once I've fought, I'm well stocked up now, especially Christmas time coming up.
Oh, yeah. Now's the time. And then you're going to start visiting all the relatives. It's all out on the table. You're going to little pick here, little pick there. Next thing you know, you've eaten so many calories and you're going to have to run even longer.
Yeah, but I'll take that one on the chin.
Right on. Any favorite person you've sparred or people that you've helped spar get ready? Any big names?
So I've sparred lots of people. Every year we go out to the wild card. Me, Joe Senior, the coach, Joe Junior, Stuart, and Reagan. The 5 of us have been out or maybe not since COVID, but a few years before that we all went out. So I've sparred plenty. I sparred Kambosos the last time I was there. I sparred. Don't blink. What's his name? Joshua Greer. I sparred Toka Khan. I've sparred loads of big names over here. I sparred Mick Conlon, Ricky Burns. Try to think. I mean, like I've sparred plenty of great names. So I've actually been really, really fortunate to get out and
Right.
spar a lot. I love sparring out in America. Like it's much better than here.
Really, really, eh?
Yeah, because like the first year we went to LA, like Joe and Stuart got invited downstairs to spar, but
Hmm.
I had to do my sparring upstairs. Because I'd never been before, and they were like, "Who's this kid?" and all that. So I didn't care. I was just out at the back of the Commonwealth Games, so I was like, "Right, let's go."
Right.
And I sparred Toka Khan, and like everyone was round the ring, like shouting, and they were all like, "Whip his ass, man! Whoop his ass, man!" And they were like, "Put him in for another round." And I was just an amateur, and I was like, I was doing really well. Like I'm not going to like start saying I was doing this and that, but I was doing really well, and it was like everyone was shouting, and I was like getting confident and stuff. So it's sick. It's better. Whereas when you're here in the gym, like everyone's quiet and it's more actually serious, focused on the spar. Whereas out there, it's loads of like a bit. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So, any plans to come over stateside soon?
I would love to. With the COVID stuff going on just now, I don't think we'd get over.
Yeah, it's still a little messed up at the borders. So
I think you
yeah,
need to be double jabbed and stuff, and
yeah, yeah,
um, I'm not so.
yeah. Um, how did COVID affect your training and everything? Was it rough going through the COVID situation? Turning pro and then having this big pause on boxing altogether, right?
Yeah, I guess like I was quite fortunate that the rules over here were like professionals were still allowed access to the gym and allowed to train and stuff. So we stayed in the gym for the whole thing basically, and like they started doing the behind closed doors studio fights. So I was always like
Right,
had this feeling where like, oh, I might get on one of them, I might get on one of them, and it didn't have a car, but like I never really lost any hunger and stuff. I enjoyed it, and it just gave me more chance to explore other avenues. Like I done the David Goggins challenge, where it was like you run every 4 hours, 4 miles for 48 hours, and
oh wow,
um, we done loads of like in Scotland. We used to go up the mountains and like jump off waterfalls and like cold water stuff, and like it just gave me a chance to try loads of different things. So
that's awesome. That's an awesome experience.
it was almost a good break. Like
Yeah, yeah, but you got to experience great things and new ways to train and stuff, and
yeah, exactly. Like it was, you just have to see the positive with it. I think loads of people are quite. I'm different. Like when it kicked off, I never ever took it as seriously as everyone else did.
right,
I
right,
was still going out and having people over, and we were training around my back garden, and me and my friends were going camping and walking and doing stuff like that. Like, and everyone was always on your case. But now that more and more's coming out, people are like, "I wish we were doing what you were doing back then." And I was like, "So it's just how you react to the
yeah,
situation, isn't it?"
yeah. It's true. It's true. It's just on how you react. I was kind of rebellious in the beginning myself. Now I'm wishing that I would have done a little more
Yeah,
because now we're just stuck doing nothing, and
yeah,
it's gonna be a long time before we really get back to the whole swing of things again.
for sure.
Last question, because I know we're getting out of time here, and uh, at the end of your career, when you hang it up and you're ready to retire, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
I just the people that always stick in my mind are your Porters, Provodnikovs, your Tim Bradleys. Like, see the people that never ever cared about like I'm going to hold this. Oh, I'm going to be at the top of the food chain forever, and like those people
Right,
that kind of dared to be great and risked it all and fought anybody, but were always in great fights. Like they're the kind of guys that stick in my mind. Your Miguel
right,
Cotto's and stuff. Like Cotto fought everybody and win, lose, or draw. Like it was always entertaining. So I just want to be that guy that win, lose, or draw. You fight anybody that they put in front of you and like make sure it's entertaining. Make sure if it's a dog fight, you're there and
right.
you're kind of scraping right through. So that's the kind of legacy I want to be known as the guy that just took any fight that was given and met it
That's
head
it. You
on.
just Yeah, and you know what? You're doing it. You're doing it, and you're doing it well. Yo, great answer, man. Our comments are coming in. They love that answer, actually. So honestly,
Excellent.
honestly, I love it. Stick around after I sign off, and we'll talk to you just after the show. But Knuckle Up fans, We have him in the house. I told you we get him. Nathaniel Collins. thanks,
Excellent. Thanks
thanks
so
for
much
taking
for
the
having
time.
me on.
Yeah, man, for sure. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and join us. That's it, fans. You know what it is, man. I told you I get him. He's here. Go check out that link we dropped in the comments to check out his last fight. You're going to love it. I loved it. You'll love it. Now, guys, start following this guy. He's got another fight coming up in March. I believe it's the 11th, you said it was?
Yeah.
March 11th, he's back in action. Make sure you set your reminders and put those dates on your calendars, man, because you're not going to want to miss this kid. The Nightmare. Yo, Nathaniel Collins, thanks again, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. To all the fans, knuckle up. We'll see you tomorrow.